Okay.
Go.
Hi, Andrew.
How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. You?
You sure about that?
No, I'm fine. Yeah, I've been dealing with some physical pain
Yeah.
lately, and it's fine. I realized yesterday how debilitating panic attacks can be, and how long they last, and how intrusive they are. It's funny. I haven't had a panic attack in a long time, and that one just came up
Mm-hmm.
out of the blue. But yeah,
Well, can we back up?
yeah,
Um, you said I'm in pain, but that's fine.
it's fine. uh,
Is that true?
yeah, I think it'll be fine. No, it's
I
not
think it'll
fine.
be fine. We went from it'll be fine to I think it'll be fine.
um, I know that I need to kind of address this physical pain, and at one point in my life, surgery was required
Mm-hmm.
or on the table, but
Mm-hmm.
it may be back at it.
Well, if I could just let listeners kind of a little backstory. I mean, we
Uh-huh.
probably discussed this in one of the earlier episodes,
Yeah.
but we're both athletes in different types of sports and stuff like that, and I think if I remember correctly, you had told us about your journey with cycling,
Mhm.
and then you picked up an injury along the way, probably not due to cycling. I don't remember the
Yeah,
exact
it was old
circumstance.
injury at scap braided.
Yeah, and so as a aggressive cyclist, you were concerned about this change because you couldn't cycle the way you used to before,
Right.
and so
Yeah.
like this pain had become so difficult, this injury had become so problematic for you that you couldn't see your life without it being on a bike.
Yeah.
And tell us about your journey up to this
Up to
point
this
with
point.
it.
So let's see. It's been about 3 years since the original like diagnosis and the conversations with medical professionals of how I needed to change, and um, it was hard. It was hard to. I mean, I think the conversations you and I had, you challenged me a lot to say, are you like, is your ego attached to the bike? Um,
Or is Jen is it Jen?
the
Can there be more
cyclist
than one?
attached
Can be
to,
more
yeah,
than one Jen? No, I think that was one of the questions,
yeah,
right?
mm-hmm,
Is Jen only a cyclist?
yeah.
And I mean, I think that was something I wanted you to think about.
It was, and it was some. It was a process that I would dive into myself, and came to the point where I was okay coming off the bike, and um, yeah, I picked up cycling in a different way, mountain
Hmm.
biking with my family, and everything's been fine. And when I got back on the road bike this spring, I think it just re-triggered the injury. So I find myself back at square one, even though I've done all this work um, and healing, self healing, and mental healing, and physical healing. I kind of feel like I'm back where I was 3 years ago.
Is that good or bad?
It's fine.
It's fine.
It's fine.
Well, let's
Uh,
say okay. So I think it's impossible to step in the same river twice.
yeah,
So you're not the same
right,
version of Jen
exactly.
that you were 3 years ago.
Yeah.
So to say you've gone backwards is probably, in my opinion or my estimation, probably not a full fact, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because you're different now.
Yeah.
You have probably more awareness. I'd like to think you're more aware about yourself now than you were 3 years ago.
Yeah.
You're more mindful of yourself and the things that you need to take care of yourself now than you were 3
Mm-hmm.
years ago. Um, and that's the big challenge in this journey is is focusing on the positive parts because
Yeah.
we're like, oh, I've regressed. I'm worse than I was before.
How would I allow myself to get back here? Is
Right. So I I've probably said it before, but this journey that we're on, the spiritual journey, this connection to ourselves, this creating mindfulness, awareness, cultivating compassion and gratitude, is so we can lead a balanced life.
mm-hmm.
And balanced life is being spontaneous to all things,
All things, the good and the
good and the bad.
unconquerable
It's to
feelings.
prepare yourself for
Yeah.
these moments where things maybe don't go exactly as you
Mm-hmm.
planned, or they do go as you planned, and you have the opportunity to enjoy those a little bit more.
Yeah.
It's not about you got to throw away your day timer and stop jamming on your planner. It's about being open to like, okay, I had my whole week planned out, but something changed. So I'm flexible enough. I'm spontaneous enough. I can adapt.
Yeah.
I'm not rigid. So give yourself that credit to say, hey, while I'm, while I feel like I might be in an old space, I'm a different version of Jen to be
Very
in that
much
old
so.
space.
Yeah.
So I'll be easier. Maybe it'll be easier to overcome this time.
I think so. You're right. I do see myself differently than I did then. Just even like the going back to what we're doing here on the podcast, being able to tap into my meditative breathing, which allows me to calm my anxiety and my panic in times when the intrusive thoughts hit. Like all that work is still there.
Yeah,
And
because that's the thing too. It's about every time you sit down or every time you take a moment and consciously breathe, you're just sharpening that tool in your toolbox a little bit more.
yeah,
So it's there and ready for you when you need it the most. Maybe now's the time where it's like, I need a really sharp tool right now.
This is what all the work was for.
Right.
Yeah.
And that tool is also going to be able to slice through all that negativity and fear and give you the compassion you need to yourself to get through the next level.
Yeah.
But also, you're not alone here. So in 3 years, everything around you has changed, right?
Right.
The dynamic with all of the people in your world has changed.
And
I would think for the better.
Yeah.
It's like, as you can sit there and continue to radiate peace and contentment and happiness, so too everyone else around you is enjoying that as well.
Yeah.
And you have that there as a support system.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And another big piece that came out of it is I realized it's been a while since I really spoke gratitude out loud. Just I think being in pain and just kind of tapping back into the part of you that wants to control it and fix it and make it go away. Being able to say out loud, like, I'm grateful for another day, and I'm grateful that there's a plan in place, and there's modern medicine, and there's old ancient medicine, and all these things can work together to help me. And saying that out loud, and something we said in an earlier podcast was gratitude is contagious, but it takes work. And this was a reminder. This past week has been a reminder of like, oh yeah, it does take work. You have to say it out loud. You have to speak it and mean it and live it.
You have to notice it. You have to look at those things that are valuable to you and say, I see you.
Yeah. I'm grateful. Very.
And just acknowledge it. It doesn't have to be some long, prayer, or, you don't have to write it down in your journal. You just have to look at it and go, okay, that's a nice thing. I appreciate that. That's good. I'm going to put that into my backpack and hold on to that for a little bit. I think before we started recording, we were talking about, everything begins and ends, right? And we've both gone through physical injuries as athletes, and we've probably had somebody else tell us that that's the end of our career. This is it, buddy.
You don't get to move this way anymore.
Right. And, I think that's just baked in the cake of being kind of a competitive athlete, is that I'm not going to let somebody else dictate how this ends for me. And I remember when I got injured severely, my doctor's like, well, you'll never kick a soccer ball again. You'll walk with a limp for the rest of your life. Every time it gets cold, you're going to be like in pain and discomfort. Is there a bunny rabbit behind me?
There is a bunny rabbit coming at us right now.
We're sitting outside a coffee shop, and
there's two of them. They're coming. Oh my God.
There's two ladies that come here once a week, and they bring their large bunny rabbits, and they put them in harnesses and leashes and let them run around. And Jen is having a hard time focusing.
I'm a little obsessed with them. I mean, it's not every day. Well, it is every week, once a week.
It is every week.
Every week you can see two bunnies on a leash hopping around. It's not distracting, but
it's not distracting as you continue to look over there.
They're coming. Hi.
Please tell me you're taking pictures of this, right? I mean,
absolutely.
But I think the idea is we're okay with closure and ending of things on our own terms, right? We're like, oh yeah, it's easy. Yeah. Everything ends. It's fine. It's easy to say. It's fine. as long as it's on my terms.
Yeah.
But when somebody else comes along and says, "Nope, this is it, buddy. We're ending it for you,"
Yeah.
it's a little bit more difficult.
Well, I think as humans, we want control, and humans who have gone through traumatic experiences, I think control, anxiety, panic, those things all are just can be intensified. And being able to look at any situation and say it's just beyond my control and be okay with it.
What are you? What's going on now?
They're right there. They're
Oh wow! I just thought you were trying to take a picture of me in this cowboy
I'm
hat.
taking a picture of Andrew in a hat. You know what? It's not just him, it's the bunnies.
Yeah. Well, this is good podcasting right here.
We're crushing it today. You know what? So I guess the whole point of me talking about my personal and physical pain is um, knowing that in situations where you don't feel in control, that just go back to the your breathing. You can't control how your breath, and you can control how you react to situations. And
I think if we look at it from a more spiritual standpoint, you know, the suffering that we cause ourselves is something that is on us.
right,
I don't even know if we can continue on here. So excited about these bunnies.
I know.
Uh, Buddha kind of described it as holding a hot coal in your hands, and like
Mm-hmm.
that hot coal is the more you hold it, the longer you hold it, the tighter you hold it, that causes you pain and suffering. You're the only one that can let it go
Let
and
it
drop
go.
it. Everyone else has already moved on, right? Like, but if you continue to latch on to something and hold on to something that no longer serves you, pain, discomfort,
Mm-hmm.
the idea of success, failure, that's that hot coal in your hands, and only you can open up your hands and let it go.
Yeah.
And um, but you got to figure out where that pain is coming from, where that holding on to. Like, identifying yourself is a whole lot more than just somebody on a bike, or somebody who kicks a soccer ball, or somebody who does yoga asanas, or somebody who does whatever you do that you feel like that is the entire thing in your life, that you're
Mm-hmm.
nothing more than that one activity. Because when it's gone, what else do you have left? A
Yeah.
lot.
There's still
You
so
have
much.
a lot left. And you'll be surprised about what you find in yourself when you shed those things, when you
Yeah.
drop the coal and you stop suffering.
Yeah. Speaking
So,
of suffering, the news cycle right now. It's early October, and there's just some terrible things going on locally and in our world. And I was thinking about how a lot of the work I've done is how we can guard ourselves in these times when other people are suffering, and wanting to control those situations and feeling so powerless. What do you say in these situations?
well, um, if you look at the history of the world and of humankind, it's never been stable.
Because humans are involved.
Right. There's pain and suffering throughout time. Um, does it mean that we have to look away? No. We need to look at it. We need to understand it. And we need to start inside ourselves, being gentle with ourselves, thinking about ourselves, our thoughts, the way we interact with other people. And then from there, we can start to create a better place.
Mm-hmm.
But it takes all of that all the time, that mindfulness of, we're standing in line at a coffee shop, and we don't know what the person in front of us is going through. We don't know what the barista behind the counter is going through. But that simple act of just being kind
Yeah.
can go a long way, changing maybe your day and their day.
Mm-hmm.
and it starts small. And I know it seems like, oh, that seems so
I feel like I want to
cliche.
do more. I want to do more than just be kind.
Being kind's hard. Being kind's hard. Being aware is hard. For some reason, we feel like we've got to, get on social media, invent our spleen, like pick a side, tell our story,
Mm-hmm.
um, you know, stomp our feet, rant and rave. And I'm not saying that 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 doesn't feel good sometimes. That
Yeah.
anger's an energy, and I don't. I've had many debates about that with many spiritual leaders. Like, debate is an energy, and it's a valid human emotion that comes with that.
Right.
But when we hold on to anger, that's when we get into trouble. So find healthy ways to vent your spleen, if you know what I mean. Like,
Mm-hmm.
but think about what you're doing before you do it. Take that moment of mindfulness before you say something out loud. Cultivate that in yourself,
Yeah.
because that's where it begins. We think about the world, and it's never been a stable place. There's always unrest somewhere. But now, as our world becomes very, very small, and we can get information quickly about these things,
Real time.
we're inundated with that. The stimuli of life and news and all of this stuff is constantly pounding on us.
Mm-hmm.
But I can't really believe that there's been any time in history that there's not some unrest going on somewhere in the world, but we
Yeah.
just didn't know. I was reading a book about um, the Battle of New Orleans. The the British were trying to invade New Orleans after it was like 1812 or something like that, and they went to battle. The Americans pushed them back, unbeknownst to both sides that they'd already signed a peace treaty a week
No,
prior.
they're
So
still,
all of these
yeah.
people died. All of this bloodshed was thrown on the
Continues.
earth because there was because the communication at the time was
Still en route.
so
Yeah.
yeah. So, but now we don't have that same problem, right? So we can see stuff that's going on real time. So somebody's holding their phone in the middle of a battlefield, or
Mm-hmm.
you know, like, we can see there's a beauty in it, but there's also a lot of terror and a lot of
Yeah.
fear and a lot of anger and a lot of emotions that are tied to this stuff. So we need to learn to protect ourselves.
Yeah.
We need to learn to say, okay, I want to be involved. I want to know what's going on. I want to be a good citizen of humanity, a
Mm-hmm.
good citizen of this planet. But I can't be pulled down into that hole too. I had a friend of mine, she basically obsessing over the news, just watching it on 24-hour news cycle.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, have you seen this? Have you seen this? Have you seen this? And I was like, I haven't seen all of it because I'm waiting to get some context, because
Right.
I don't really know exactly what's going on all the time. It's impossible for me.
Yeah.
So our brains really struggle with that. But I think it is about starting with the basic, simple act of kindness,
Mm-hmm.
um, and see where it goes from there.
Yeah. That made sense to me.
That's hard.
Yeah.
I mean, that's really, really hard.
It's hard to take the knowledge that other people are suffering significantly, like in ways that, us in this Western world where we're safe outside all the time, and disassociate, or not disassociate, but allow yourself to not try to come to their level of suffering so you can sympathize with them. But
Is that what
to,
they need, though?
no, they need people, maybe they need money, maybe they need, donations, financial donations to, um,
Maybe a simple act of understanding.
yeah, and spreading, like, the more kindness you spread, like, that is control that you have.
It is a control you have.
Yeah,
That is something
your
but that's a great gift that you
kindness
can
is a
give
reaction.
to everyone. It
Mm-hmm.
doesn't cost you anything.
Yeah.
And if we think about that, if we thought about that on a global level, where everyone just was a little bit more mindful and a little bit more aware of their things they said and their actions.
Yeah.
Just that millisecond. Would things be different in the world? I'd like to believe so.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Will there still be suffering?
There'll always be suffering.
Always. Yeah.
You know, so when we sit in our meditations, I think it's probably, a good way to start sometimes is like I want to I want to think about ending suffering for all beings,
Mm-hmm.
And we've talked about that before, like that cultivation of compassion.
Yeah.
It starts here inside of us, but then there's the trickier ones, right? So like, okay, I can give myself a bit, but then there's the people that you don't like as you start to radiate out. Those become trickier, right? Like, and I say don't like, maybe you had a run-in with you, or you had a disagreement about something.
Yeah.
Those people, like, oh, it's going to take a little bit more work. And yeah, that's required.
Mm-hmm.
It takes a little bit more work.
A little bit more work.
So what?
Yeah.
So what? And it's not about reconciling the account too. I think a lot of people are like, oh, I want to do good work. I want to be compassionate because I want people to be compassionate to me. You can't do it for that reason.
Yeah.
You do it because that's the karma.
It's required.
The action is it's about doing the good work for no other reason than just to do the good work.
Mm-hmm.
And then maybe we can lift all of ourselves up. The tide will bring all of us up.
Yeah.
But we have to start small and in what it would seem insignificant ways.
Yeah.
Gratitude.
I agree with that.
It's a tough time in the world, but I think it's always been a tough time.
Yeah. So yeah, this podcast started off kind of heavy. It's also okay to laugh and find joy when things are still so shitty out, right?
Yeah.
Like we can still laugh in the midst of suffering, and find joy and find gratitude, because in those spaces you are cultivating the good things.
We've probably said it on one of these episodes before, but I believe there's this misunderstanding of being on your spiritual journey, is that when you're on the path to rediscover your true self, you somehow feel like you have to shed all the things that who you are. Like you have to become a vanilla white sheet of paper, right? That you're just boring. That you speak in hushed tones, and you're like, that is completely,
you're not quirky, and you can't do off the wall.
Yeah, because really what you're doing is you're trying to find your true self and unlock and unleash all of those true colors in yourself that are more vibrant now.
Yeah.
That you're confident in that. So people give me that all the time. They're like, oh, how can you be this Zen Bodhisattva guy but also be quirky and point at pictures on your wall, but that's okay in my opinion. Like, that's who I am. I'm not going to shy away from that. I'm not going to wear a mask.
Yeah.
I can still be a caring, compassionate human being and weird.
Hell yeah,
as I sit here in a cowboy hat.
Just sitting here. Doesn't have on cowboy boots, but
I didn't know they were required. I'm wearing Birkenstocks and a cowboy hat. Okay.
Yeah, this hat is ridiculous. It's got feathers in it.
There's no feathers.
Oh, what are those?
This is
tassel.
How dare you?
I love the hat.
It's amazing.
I love the hat, Andrew. It is amazing. It is amazing seeing you walk across the parking lot to
Yeah.
the coffee shop in this hat.
Where'd you park your horse? So that's I think in a nutshell, I think that's what we're here to do, is talk about that stuff on this podcast. No Expectations is about arriving and seeing what happens and playing with and noticing the world around you, and start to work on the little things that you can work on, but still be happy and still be joyful and still be quirky, and still just kind of roll around in the grass of life and just be like having fun with it.
Right. Yeah. Find your joy, especially when times are hard. And
again, times are always hard.
Yeah.
So
not always.
Find your joy
for somebody. Yeah.
I mean, like this is we have this, society's given us this great gift for you and I to sit around and have this conversation. If we were too busy worried about having where we're going to get water from or food or the next meal, we wouldn't have this gift to sit here and have this conversation.
Yeah.
and to share this with the world. So it's a gift.
Yeah. Is that what you're grateful for today?
I'm grateful for you, Jen.
Aw,
Yeah,
ditto.
save it. It doesn't mean the same if you just say ditto.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, it does.
You sure? Is that
Same,
the Sanskrit word
same
for?
Z's.
All right, so let's leave it there today.
Yeah,
Enjoy your journey. Do the best you can with what you got.
it's fine.
It's fine.